Right on, writers, and welcome back to Books by Adrian. My name is Adrian Santiago. This is Typewriters Podcast. This is the after show where we continue our conversation with this week's guest from Livestream Sunday. In this case, we have the very cool and very, very interesting to talk to Mr. James Moore. I can't wait to get him back out here. For those of you at home, if you're watching this on the premiere, go ahead and hit the like, comment, subscribe down below. You know what to do. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. If you are listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, please go ahead and leave a 5-star review. That's going to bump us up in the old algorithm over there and help us to show up on people's feeds. So please help us out. Without further ado, let's get right on into it. Mr. James Moore, welcome. Hello again.
Hi, how you doing?
It was great. That was fun, man. I had a great time on Livestream Sunday. I hope you did as well.
Yeah, I had an excellent time. I've done, 2 or 3 of these interview types, and I got to say that although everyone has been pleasant, this has been the best experience so far.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that, man. I work very hard to make these things as fun and enjoyable as possible. I like to have lots of little visuals and stuff going on because it is a visual medium, and I feel like just talking heads talking to each other can get kind of boring after a while. So, spiff it up, throw things in people's faces, and, keep it moving.
Right.
It was fun. Everybody at home, like, comment, subscribe. I almost forgot to throw that up there. There you go. Now, Mr. Moore, on this particular show, we tend to focus a little more on the craft of it all. On Livestream Sunday, we talked about your life, your career, everything kind of ebbing and flowing through it and leading up to you writing and everything. Here, we're going to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of how you do what you do. You mentioned on Livestream Sunday that you set out to write a novella back in 2014, thinking that it would be super easy, get it done in a couple of months. 18 months later, you were finished with the first draft. And those of us who know how writing works means that there was more drafts and rewrites after that, if you're doing it right anyway. And so my question to you comes from, well, it's the theme of that episode, I believe, was a lesson in naivete, right? Because you think, oh yeah, no problem, I'll knock it right out, and then you learn, oh no, so as you were learning to write, as you were developing your craft, how did it kind of come together for you, the craft part of it? You mentioned you started out as a pantser and you are not so much anymore. So what's your writing process like when you sit down to do it? What do you need in order to accomplish it?
Well, I'll tell you this, to answer the question about, how this writing craft has been working for me from the beginning, and without getting too sanctimonious religious about it, my writing career up until now has been a huge factor is hand of God. God has had a factor in everything I've been doing, and the biggest part of that is putting me in front of people that will help me become a better writer. For example, just starting out, when I made the decision I want to do some writing, I want to write this stuff down, I knew instinctively that I wanted to become part of a writing group,
Nice.
And just that the idea, and anybody who's listening out there, anybody who is even thinking about anything beyond the grocery list, okay? If you plan on writing anything, do not write in a vacuum. If you write in a vacuum, when that air comes rushing in, you'll find out that you have just a lump of dirt in your hands instead of something useful. Yeah. You have to have an audience. You have to have an audience before your audience. People that, I'm not talking just about your friends and family that will read your stuff and be polite. Okay, we're talking about people that range from just starting out like you all the way up to I do this for a living. And I just fell into a tub of butter with the first writing group that I even investigated just to get involved with them. It's run by a man named Rick Ely. And I got into that writers group and I knew I was home because the people there, everybody was so open and honest, and they were able to criticize and instruct without making people feel bad about what they've done.
Constructive criticism.
True definition of constructive criticism.
Yes.
For example, the very first piece of constructive criticism I got was I brought something to the group. All right, the format with the group was, you bring something, maybe something like 3 pages of whatever you write, whatever you've written, 3 to 5 pages. You read it, everybody passes it around, and they give you notes, and you have homework.
Okay.
When I had given my submission, Rick took me off to the side and he said, "You know what, James? You need to fall out of love with the comma. You need to fall out of love with the comma because you're using it a little bit too much, and fall out of love with the exclamation point. You don't need it."
Exclamation point is a big one. That one stands out to everybody. They see it all over the place.
Exactly. And I was using those as crutches and tools, comma splices everywhere, and that's where I learned the basics. The basics of writing well is being a part of that writing group. So I would say that's task number one for anybody who wants to get involved in this, is to be part of a good writing group that suits you.
Yeah, for sure. I agree wholeheartedly. I mentioned in the episode of Livestream Sunday, my sister is my editor. In addition to that, I have a crew of critique partners, which are other writers who are going to tackle my thing. And then on top of that, I have a group of beta readers who are not writers. They are readers, and they're going to tackle it from a reader's perspective and give me feedback that way. And I'll tell you, man, like a lot of writers will tell me that they'll send their stuff out to an editor or critique partner or whoever, and immediately like the stress begins of like, oh my God, like what if they don't like it, or what if they send it back covered in red? And I'm like, please send it back covered in red. Like, I wanted that. I want to make this thing as good as humanly possible. And how am I going to do that if I don't know what's wrong with it? Tell me everything that's wrong with it, and I'm going to do my very best to fix it up so that it is as close to perfect as possible, because no book is ever perfect. But yeah, man, that feedback, that back and forth, and again, the community of writers is very, very important.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Something that I found out early on in the game is, people that don't write, people that just, they might read books. They have a picture in their mind of the lonely writer who has a cabin in the woods where he escapes and writes his books, and genius comes out of that cabin and everything. No, writing is a team sport. And you got to put your team together. All the people that you mentioned, your arc readers, your editors, that's what they have to be part of that team. Because if you don't have that, then you're really just writing for you and nobody else.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned having an audience before an audience, and I mean, that's why I'm doing this. My book isn't out yet, and I've been doing this for almost 2 years. No, more than 2 years now. Wow. Because I started like right around the time that like quarantine happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So more than 2 years now, I've been doing this, and again, it's all in the effort to create a readership, like people who are actually waiting for the book for when it comes out, and others who are going to read it before it comes out, so that they'll put up reviews the day that it comes out. So there's already reviews out. So like it's an orchestra. Right. That you have to kind of conduct. And we spoke earlier about what an incredible full-time job writing is, being an author is. It's not just a job, it's like 19 jobs. You know what I mean? Like you got to market the thing, you got to do everything yourself. Even if you're traditionally published, you're doing most of your own marketing. And most, like literally most, if not all, of your own marketing. So yeah, man, like it's hard work, and it's not just any one thing. People who think that they want to be a writer, that's great. You're going to write. You're going to need to do a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Yes. And that's something I hear over and over again, whether it's on TikTok or somebody I meet at a conference or something like that. And it's kind of a synergy, because most creatives, at least in my experience, especially people that are writers, are kind of introverted. Okay, I'm not saying that they're hermits or anything, but they're introverted. They don't like to focus on themselves necessarily. They are more interested in the other person that they're talking to, and that kind of works counter to self-promotion, which is what you have to do. And
they want to be humble. They don't want to brag about themselves.
Exactly.
But I'm like, you gotta, man. You gotta market this thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No. It's good. It's all good. the thing that's tough for people to get over is a little bit of the self doubt. Do I really have something that's good? And it's you have to have a business mindset. You're in a business now. You're selling yourself.
That's
You're
right.
selling your story.
That's right.
And one of the reasons, the second biggest reason why I got involved in TikTok, or specifically in book talk or author talk, is that I wanted to encourage people who are going through that same struggle, sitting down trying to get a story out, especially if they're an indie author, and those doubts creep in, and say, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right thing? And I try to tell people, look, do not cheat me out of your story.
Mm.
Okay. In addition to writing, I like reading. I love stories. If you give up now, I'll never get to read your story. And that's cheating me. Okay. So you need to give me a shot at that. Don't cut me out like that.
That's awesome. It puts them on the spot.
Yeah,
I don't
it
want to let
does.
them down.
Yeah. So when you have a choice of scrolling through TikTok or writing that next paragraph, you need to lean towards the paragraph.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you said it in Livestream Sunday to spend some time writing short stories and flash fiction and stuff like that, and definitely like cut your teeth on it, because getting to the end
Mhm.
as many times as possible is so important to making you a better writer and making you really understand how to tell stories. As you said, if you can tell a story in 300 words, you you're there, man. You're a writer. you know. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I love writing for literary magazines online and that sort of thing, because it's not as big a boost. It's like the tiny little hit of cocaine, not the big hit of cocaine,
Well shot.
but you get to uh, get something accomplished, done, submitted, and in some cases, every once in a while, published. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and in a lot of cases, it's going to be free. There's a lot of places that they don't compensate yet, or they can't. But just to be able to point to a magazine and say, "I'm a published author because I wrote that," you know,
Hmm. Yeah,
that's something to say.
for sure. Yeah, it's got to be a pretty good feeling too, especially in those literary magazines where you're essentially surrounded by other storytellers, other writers, and their
Mhm.
stories and stuff, and just to like have yours among them like that. One of the things I very much want to do when I'm done editing this novel is write a couple of short stories to submit to like some short story collections. I would love to be a part of something like that. I have a couple of friends on AuthorTube who have put out short story collections with other writers, and it's just so exciting to see them all in one place, and tackling a particular theme or whatever it is, and seeing how everybody's different styles all kind of fit together or don't. And yeah, man, it's awesome. The discovery of it is just the greatest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love doing that kind of work. I've been fortunate enough to have uh, a couple of stories actually featured in literary magazines, and what I found it helps me do, even when I'm in the middle of another project of writing a novel, and in the middle, I'm sure that in the book that you have, there were probably times in 200,000 words that you said, "Man, I don't know if I can get it up today to sit down
Yeah.
and go back to the story." So you can actually take a break by writing something else. And
Yeah.
it might not be the final draft of it. It might not be something that you send off, but you write 3 or 4 paragraphs on something else that's been running around in your mind. And I find that actually clears yourself for the next thing in your main project that you're working on.
And even if you're not aspiring to publish in literary magazines or anything like that, I still recommend those short stories and those flash fictions, because those end up being your reader magnets. You can send flash fiction stories out in your newsletter to your readers. You can publish a short story or a little novella as a reader magnet to get people interested in your main book, your main series, whatever the big thing is.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I intend to do once I'm done editing this big boy, is to write something a little smaller that I can kind of give away for free to people and be like, hey, if you like this, here's the main book, stuff like that. There's all
Right.
kinds of different ways that it can still benefit you career wise and business wise, in addition to making you a better writer as you're practicing these things,
Definitely. Yes.
for sure. So you, in addition to writing novels and novellas, are also, delving into screenplays and shorts and short films. And that to me is fascinating because before I started writing this novel, I was working on a graphic novel series with some buddies of mine. We had a whole writer's room thing going on, and we plotted out this epic story. And, we have this vision for this amazing graphic novel series that belongs on the shelf next to the big, the Watchmen and, The Long Halloween and, Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Like, we wanted it to be that, you know what I mean? Like, just right up there on that shelf next to those guys. And then
aim high, man.
Aim high, exactly. But then when it came time to writing the actual scripts based off of the plotting that we had done, that fell onto me. And I hadn't written anything before. And I sat down to write those scripts, and literally years went by with me trying to make them work and hating everything I wrote in them. You know what I mean? Like, just like, this is not going to get up on that shelf. It's just not going to make it. And I realized I need to set that aside and do something for myself where it's only my name attached to it, and I'm not going to bring these other guys down with me. If it sucks, it's just on me. If it's great, it's just on me. I did it myself, and become a better writer so that I can go back and tackle that in the future. The scripting format was really difficult for me. The whole, like, and especially for graphic novels, but I can imagine even for screenplays and films, that format is so different from the prose that we do in novels and novellas. What do you see as like the connective tissues between these two things? How is it? What am I trying to ask here? What would you say is the best way for somebody who writes prose and novels and stuff like that to kind of transition into the scripting format?
Well, I'll say this. One thing that helped, number one, I think it's something that you mentioned in the other show that you've already done yourself. You got the Screenwriter's Bible, okay? And that is the book that guided me as far as the format. I mean, it's really a Bible if you want to do right. And even if you're not saying, okay, I'm going to take this thing from the cradle to go into Hollywood, because in the Screenwriter's Bible, they even talk about when you're done marketing, how to contact people, how to get to the business. Even if that's not really part of your plan yet, the format is absolutely crucial, because your script will get tossed away as unreadable just because of the format. No one will even find out how good you could write War and Peace, Gone with the Wind. It could be Gone with the Wind. They're going to toss it because it's not the right format. They'll label it as unreadable because there's a standardization that's essential in handing that script to a leading lady, a director, a leading man, because they want to be able to read it in that format that's been established for a long time. So that would be step number one, is for you to get one of those screenwriting Bibles. And I know everybody's working on a budget. Okay.
Libraries are free.
Yeah. if you can't afford the latest edition, you can get previous editions, because even though the information on how to break into the business might not be relevant, the formatting information really doesn't change. So if that's what you're getting it for, get an earlier edition or whatever. And the second thing that is going to help with your transition is, instead of trying to figure out in Microsoft Word or whatever how many spaces to move over for dialogue versus the action and everything, and having to do that physical formatting, there is a free online piece of software that I use. I mean, it's my go-to because it's free. I'm working on no budget. The industry standard is Final Draft. Okay, I get that. Right. If you can get your hands on Final Draft, do it. If you have the means to do that, God bless you.
Money well spent, sure.
money well spent if you have the money.
Yeah.
What I do is I go online to writerduet.com.
Okay.
And it holds your hand and walks you through the crowded bus station so that you won't get lost from your mommy in the world of screenwriting. And the free version of that, you get to keep I think it's 3 projects on active at a time, but you can export them as PDFs and import them again later on or whatever. So, but you have to cycle through just 3 at a time.
We got
There
it
it
right
is,
here.
Write a Duet, and it's my go-to. I've written everything in that because the formatting and everything, it really walks you through it, and it's James proof. James can mess up anything. So I'm telling you right now, it's James proof as far as being able to get your format correct.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at it. It does everything.
Yeah, yeah,
You're gonna be ready to go with this, and it's
yeah.
free, huh?
It's free. Now, the
Great
version that
Scott.
you pay for
Right.
allows you to collaborate. So if you work in a project with a number of people, there's all kinds of little doodads that you get when you pay on each one of those tiers. But the
Mm-hmm.
biggest one I think that I would start paying for once this becomes something that makes money is being able to collaborate with other people and you can share projects.
For sure, man. This is awesome. And even the tiers where you're paying for it, that ain't bad.
No, no, it's not expensive.
That's not bad at all. And if you go yearly, you save some money.
Hmm.
All
Definitely.
right. We're not sponsored, but check it out. Right on. I'm gonna be looking into that, man, because like I said, man, one of the big dreams is the showrunner gig someday, whether it's
Yeah.
adapting my own novels into a series or an original thing or whatever it is. Like I remember the writer's room kind of scenario of plotting our graphic novel that never finished, and hopefully we'll get to again someday. But I love that collaborative setting, man. That the kicking ideas around and making that, yeah, that's good, but I've seen that before. Let's go bigger, or painting yourself into corners and like, how are we gonna get out of this one, and all that stuff. It's just fun, man. It's my bread and butter.
Yeah, when you mentioned that's what you wanted to do, I kind of got not kind of I got jealous because I mean that's an unrealized dream for me to be
Mm,
in the writers' room and work in that collaborative atmosphere. I've never done it on a scale like that before, and
mhm.
that would be a dream come true to be a contributing member on a team like that. I
Yeah,
feel like I would learn so much to be able to work with other storytellers in a venue like that. If I'm gonna jump all over an opportunity like that if it ever comes my way to be in a room with I don't know 5 6 other people and develop a story like that. It must
yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah, one of my heroes is Vince Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and I studied the writers' technique that they use for plotting those series. As far as the writers' room is concerned, they've got their cork board up, they've got their index cards, and they're throwing ideas, they're pitching things, and they're putting stuff up, and they're finding things from old seasons, like, oh, we never did anything with this. Let's do something with this, and bringing things back and all that kind of stuff. And he tells stories in interviews sometimes about like when you're kicking ideas around, there's nothing is off the table when you're first plotting. Like you're just throwing things out there, and they're trying to think of the most horrible way for this thing to happen or whatever it is. And he tells stories of he's deep in thought and he's looking out the window and maybe tapping on the window as he's thinking. He goes, well, what if we had Walter White give her a hot dose of heroin or something like that, and then he like turns to a room of people going like like, dude, like, this is dark, man. It's like, all right, well, we don't have to go that dark. Let's rein it in a little bit, and just that collaboration, man. Like, I love that stuff. I love it. The idea that you can all kind of contribute. Like, I'm not gonna think of this scene the same way as you, the same way as him or her, and to have everybody kind of throwing out their versions and their things that work and everything. And then after all of that, when everything is plotted and you're like, this is what our story is, this episode is going to be written by that guy, and this episode is going to be written by that lady, and just the idea of all these people who had been in this room now going off and writing the scripts and editing each other's work, like you said, the writers group, the writing team. It's fantastic, and so important for writers,
Oh
so
yeah.
important. James, was there anything that you wanted to cover or talk about in Livestream Sunday that we did not get to?
Well, the only thing I would talk about a little bit more is the amount of incredible support that I've been privileged to have in doing all these pursuits because Number one at the head of the line is my wife Donna, and, I appreciate the fact that she lets me, you know, write these things, run off on a Saturday or Sunday with this wild person, Charles Townsend, and go out into the middle of a field and ask some people who love the craft of acting what they do to ask them to do it for a slice of pizza to put together, to put together something that we think is going to look good on film. If you analyze it that way, it's craziness. It's insane
Yeah.
until you send it to the film festival and it wins, some laurels. Then you've actually done something. So I think in addition to her just being relieved that my midlife crisis is not, chasing women, I'm not trying to buy a sports car, I'm not, skydiving or anything like that. But, when I get done with a project, I'm working with Charles and I see written by James Moore on there, I just wonder, why are people wasting time with alcohol and drugs when they can be
Oh,
making movies?
I'm saying.
Because
I'm
it's the
saying.
same hit, it's the same eye, it's just awesome. And if I'm gonna do it, I I may never make a dime off of doing this, but it's what I'm gonna die doing. You know, I
I hear
just I
that.
just love this stuff. I'm totally hooked.
My sister being my editor, I love running my stuff through her first and foremost because while she's editing grammar and mistakes and blah and storytelling, formatting stuff, all that stuff, she tackles that stuff as a writer, and she's a phenomenal writer. But she never turns off her reader brain, and she gives just as much feedback as a reader as she does as an editor. And there is no greater high than going through her comments on my manuscript and running into a moment where she freaked out about something, or something like surprised her, scared her, or a mystery, element made theories go off in her head. Oh, does that mean that this guy is that guy? Or, like once she starts throwing out that reader stuff, that's when I get like all jazzed, because I'm like, yes, like that's what I want. I want to make people feel stuff. I want to make them freak out. I have in my epilogue what I hope will be the moment that makes people just throw the book across the room. You know what I mean? Like, just like, you've broken my heart. Stop it. Like you thought the story was over. I'm coming for the jugular in the epilogue. So like, yeah, man, that's like you say, man, it's just that high. Like, why are you wasting your time with alcohol? Just write a story and let somebody read it and listen to what they think of it. Like, and you can be like, whoa.
Yeah, it is nothing like that moment when you know that they got it. What you were trying to convey. We what I tell people, if especially some people that come up to me and say, help me with my writing, that sort of thing. I ask them first. I say, why are you doing this? Why are you writing?
Mm.
And depending on the answer, I know where they are seriously. But the people that come to me and say, I want to convey a message, I want to move people, I want to make people laugh, cry, throw my book against the wall, whatever, then I know
Yeah.
that I'm talking with somebody who's serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you write to invoke an emotional response. That's what you're doing the writing for.
Yeah.
And that's why we do the movies that we do. I want somebody to leave the theater, or leave their phone or whatever whenever they saw it. I want them to leave thinking, laughing, crying, reevaluating their reality. That
Mhm.
would be the apex of what I've done. I would know that I've done my job.
Yeah, man. Like, the mark of a great movie going experience is when you leave the theater and you're still talking about it, and you go to a diner with your friends and you're talking about it, and you're driving home and you're talking about it. That's a great movie. You know what I mean? When I finish a movie and I walk out going, I'm gonna go home and go to sleep. See you later, guys. Like, that was a bad movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It did nothing
yeah,
for me. Did nothing for
right.
me. I want to dissect it. I want to talk about it. What about the scene with the guy and all of that? Just kind of like makes the movie live on beyond just the watching of it, and that's same thing that I want from my books. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the reasons why I do a book club on my channel, because just the idea of like talking it out with other people who have read the same thing that you have read, and just diving into it. What did you think of this chapter? And what were the lines that popped out to you and stood out to you as the most beautiful lines in this chapter, or whatever? It's great stuff, man.
Yeah, and when you tell me that you want to do this in a writer's room for a series that goes, that's streaming going on and on, I mean, I'm jealous and I'm scared. That's like saying, oh, yeah, I fly fighter planes. That would be cool to do, but it's scary to think that I would be doing it because, right now I'm in the realm where I'm trying to get that response in a certain period of time, but you want to do it over and over and over again every week for
Mhm.
weeks on end. And to do that well, literally,
Yeah.
frightens me. It frightens and excites. Um, One of my heroes as far as writing is Aaron Sorkin.
Oh my
And
God.
he's the man. He's the man. I
He's the
got
man.
hooked
Dude,
on
the
him.
newsroom is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So underrated. But please
Yeah,
go on.
exactly. Newsroom, and my hook was West Wing.
Yep. Classic.
West Wing is, I mean, can you imagine being in that writer's room and coming up with that stuff every week to bring people in and get the same level of response to some of those episodes? To this day, I've seen them a dozen times, still sit
Mm.
down and cry or
Oh yeah.
sit down and laugh my head off,
Yeah.
because they were just hitting it on all cylinders with that show.
For sure, man. And Aaron Sorkin, he's such a good pull because he's such a unique voice. When you read an Aaron Sorkin script or you watch an Aaron Sorkin written film, you know it's him right away. As soon as a character opens their mouth, you're like, "Oh, Aaron Sorkin wrote this," and that's the mark of a great author, where you can see his style from a mile away, and still you're sucked in. And he's so good. I mean, The Social Network is one of my favorite movies. I'm a huge David Fincher fan. I love his films. Like most of his catalog fills up my top 10. Like out of my top 10 are David Fincher movies. So for him to team up with Aaron Sorkin on a script, like, oh my God, that's just dream come true kind of stuff for me. So Few Good Men, like, I could go on and on about it. Aaron Sorkin,
Yeah,
what a good pull.
the story with that is, I mean, A Few Good Men, that was like the first stage play he had ever written.
Yeah.
And he really felt like he was kind of just a novice getting his feet wet with this thing.
So
and
good.
it's a masterpiece.
So good.
And they turned it into a movie masterpiece.
Yeah.
That guy has got the gift.
Yeah, he does. Now, the thing with him that I find very fascinating when people talk about working on a Sorkin project, unlike other films and shows and whatnot, where you are usually encouraged to, explore different avenues after you've gotten how it is on the page, let's do a couple more where you're kind of mixing up other stuff. That doesn't happen on the Sorkin project. Like, you do it as it's on the page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do not mess with this man's words. You memorize that 9-page monologue and you do it exactly like that.
Yeah.
Because it's Sorkin. Like, Jesus.
Exactly.
Like, that's just like so intense, man. What a great writer that guy is. Mr. Moore, I do believe we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We got just a couple minutes left here before 6. So if you have, you mentioned the writers convention that's coming up in
That's
your
right.
town. That's this weekend, this coming weekend?
This coming weekend, the Williamsburg Book Festival is going to be, they have a website. If you Google Williamsburg Book Festival, the 1st of October from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., they're going to have authors. I'm going to be out there. They have other featured authors out there. They're going to have seminars on writing, seminars on publishing. If you're into writing, if you're into storytelling, it's really a necessity for you to get out there and mingle and talk to some people and find out what that's all about.
Beautiful. Well, this airs on Thursday, so those of you who are in that area, if you catch this on Thursday, you got 2 days to get ready and head over there. Mr. Moore, thank you so very much. Everybody at home, go ahead and check out his website, pick up a copy of his book. All of that is in the description down below. And I look forward to hearing so much more from you, and I look forward to speaking to you again on future episodes. This was a delight, and you're a great guest.
Great, man. I mean, this has been a fantastic experience. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be on the show, and now I'm a fan of the show. I'm gonna, I'll keep my eye on you, man.
Hey, man, the honor is all mine, and I do hope to see you again in the chat. Show up for the next episode and join us. Look through the back catalog too. I've got a couple of great guests back there. Garrett Robinson was on this season. Mike DeFrench was on this season, both of which you might know from TikTok. They have great writer advice over there on TikTok. and I've spoken to a couple of the Hello Future Me from YouTube, huge writer on YouTube. He was on last season, so please go and those of you at home who haven't done so, going through the back catalog. There's a lot of good stuff back there.
Definitely.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much, and I will see you all back here on Sunday for the next episode of Livestream Sunday. Right on, writers. We are out.